So we're going to talk about money, the symbol of power, worth, and whatnot. And before I start, don't forget to like my video. I would highly appreciate it. And, you know, we're talking about the symbol of power. Why is money a symbol of power? See, if you look at money, money is just nothing but paper, right? It's paper. And then we have something called digital currency. But money, if you really want to know what, you know, let's say currency actually is, it actually is money, but money is just paper. The difference between printing up a dollar bill to $100 bill makes no real big difference, right? Not only that, but this paper is not really backed up by anything. So why is it such a symbol of power? As far as a collective, it's what the collective humans actually value this paper to be. So you may look at a $100 bill and you'll put 100 times more value on that $100 bill than you would a dollar bill. As a collective, we agreed to use this as the main means of exchange for goods, right? So, but money is a symbol of power for the simple fact that the majority of the people actually chase this physical manifestation of energy called abundance, right? Now, we have many different ways of looking at this money or paper. I mean, money can't buy happiness, can't really fulfill you. There's actually rich people who want to kill themselves, but because there really is no value to this money, it's just part of this system that we observe outside of us, which is basically all an illusion, right? The important thing here is the experience. And the reason I mentioned this is because when you look at, let's say when you have a dream, it doesn't matter the people, places, or things in the dream is about you because you're the dreamer. It's in your head. When you wake up, you were the one that was actually projecting and experiencing all this in that dream, right? Now we're in one big giant dream over here. And everything that you experience outside of yourself is about you. This reality is you pushed inside out. Now, when we start to ask, well, how many layers of this dream are we in? We're in a dream within a dream. And how do we know we're not within another dream? Because even people who try to visualize or manifest, you're basically visualizing and manifesting based on this reality that isn't even really real, or it was actually, it's a blueprint to what the actual real is, right? So when you want to do affirmations or whatnot, it is done in language, which we already know language is basically entrapping when you don't know how to use this tool, because language, basically how we voice our opinions or how we speak, is a symbol of power in and of itself based on how we speak and express ourselves, but it is still entrapping. The language, for example, is something that compartmentalizes everything and it actually forms your reality to some extent. Okay, the meaning of things are compartmentalized by words that we use that were actually designed for us and taught for us to spell in school, right? But anyway, going past that, you know, being this symbol of power, the reason it's a symbol of power is because of the power people give it, the attention and energy people give it. This symbol of power is actually the majority of people go chase this through things that they may not even like to do. If people realized the source of power they actually are, the value and worth that they actually are, okay, they would not be chasing anything out here. You get what I'm saying? Because you wouldn't even be doing something that you don't want to do. Why do you think rich people, they don't have to subject themselves to even talking to people they don't want to talk to, doing things they don't want to do? They can basically travel and roam free wherever they want. Somebody pisses them off, they can literally say fuck you a lot easier than a poor person would to another person of a different class, right? So even through jobs, they may have to work in a job that they don't like. So they're literally the majority of their day vibrating lower. Most of the time when you're at a job that you don't like, time is going so slow, right? The only time it speeds up is when you're on lunch break. So if you're vibrating this low and you're there the majority of your fucking time, then that means you're majority of your time vibrating lower. Now, if you look at your cells, when you look at yourself in the mirror, your cells, you're mainly made of trillions of sentient cells. You're not even one individual when you look at yourself in the mirror. And then when you look at these cells hold if I'm not mistaken, a 1.3 to a 1.4 charge of electricity, and one would say of volts of power of charge. But then one would say that's not even a lot. But when you look at it as a collective of trillions of sentient cells, you actually hold a very big charge, you know, and you're more bacteria than you actually are human. When you look at certain things, like the sun, for example, the sun is the generator of your reality, but it is only generating the reality that you are perceiving from the inside out. Matter of fact, the sun doesn't even exist. And the sun, we look at it as the giver of life, a symbol of power. But it doesn't even exist unless, the only reason it exists is because you're perceiving it, you're observing it and collapsing it into existence. So the sun really doesn't even technically exist. When you look at the sun, it's another symbol of power, so much so that people were actually worshiping it. And then when you look at the sun, there was people who make stories, anthropomorphizing these, making allegories of the sun by creating the story of Jesus Christ, Buddha, Krishna, whatever it may be. You know, ascending after being dead, you know, ascending 3 days later, and then, you know, having 12 followers. Like you got 12 calendar months of the year, and then you have 12-hour clock system. And, you know, you got all these stories that basically are allegories of the sun, but the sun is you, right? So if you look at the sun and you start to say, well, what keeps that glowing ball in the sky up there basically shining and, you know, lighting up this reality? And then you start to ask yourself, well, what keeps a person alive? What keeps them highly vibrating high and, you know, having full charge? Because you could see the brightness in a person, you know, by how intelligent they are. You can say, wow, that person's bright. Or you can look at it from just full of life, like a person with high energy. For example, you may have a child, for example, full of life. You could see the life in their eyes, you know, the sounds of a child in a room. They may light up your environment, right? But it's all perception, because the sun could be, it's giving out the same amount of light to everybody here. Yet to somebody who goes outside, their life may seem whack, dull, boring, right? To the point that they want to kill themselves. But then you got people who go outside and they look at life, listen to the bird, and they have all this passion and desire to live life, right? And this is why I'm going to get into the symbol of power, because it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The sun is shining as bright on everybody. It's just certain people may be perceiving their life a certain way, but it's all based on that particular individual, right? And when you live this life, right, it's ran on many different systems. Some systems, the most lucrative ones, don't even have the best interest in humanity, such as the religious system. How lucrative is that system, right? If you got the certain systems like the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, that system doesn't have your best interest in mind. It's a business. They want to have you keep coming back. They also depend on sick people to keep them in business, right? Doctors have to do an oath. Do no harm. Why? Because they have a lot of power. With great power comes great responsibility. If they know that the more drugs they prescribe to you, the more money they make, they have to make sure that they're doing no harm, right? They just have to keep it under control, right? Everything has to be in order. So, you know, keep you debilitated, right? Through just, you see, not deliberately. But the reason why is because they're just treating symptoms. They don't treat the root cause of the issue, right? Religious systems, why are they so lucrative, right? If you look at religious systems, they say Sunday mass service. They're being a service to humanity, but who are they really serving? They're serving the Lord, and the Lord is the sun. So if you really look at it, right, we have allegories of the sun. We follow an astrological system. We follow a 12-hour, you know, clock system. Are they even technically lying to you? No. You just don't realize that you're not following yourself, which is the sun. You're following something that you're told, and you're taking it the wrong way. Like when you read the Bible, you take it literal, when the Bible is basically a story about you. Everything in the Bible is basically a book about you. This whole story over here is about you. But then there's people who say, well, what does it matter? Nothing really exists out here. So, you know, whatever, we're just going to die anyway. But that's where we get into nihilism, which I'll get into another video. But then again, when you live like that, you lose the passion and desires for life. And this whole entire existence of yours is based on a story anyway. The key is the experience, like I said about the dream, right? The dream, you had an experience. You're living life here. It's all about the experience. And I'm going to get into another video because you don't remember the first few years of your life, right? And depending on the type of work you do here, you may not even experience your death. So you're just basically living the experience. But you want to create a story. Because then again, if you say everything out here doesn't exist, what does it matter? You start to live life like that, where it has its pros to say, I just don't give a fuck, right? But you have to have that fine balance between saying, I don't give a fuck, to the point where you get to say, I don't give a fuck, and be all depressed and lose passion and desires for life. To the point where you see life dull and all that, not knowing that this whole existence is you. Life is you. The sun is you. People, places, and things out here are you, including the shit that triggers you. Look at there's no room for not being in gratitude here. Because even the shit that pisses you off, those things should be the blessing in disguise that tell you, man, you know what? I'm grateful for that shit because now I know where I need to put my fucking work and focus on. You keep the ego in check, but the ego wants to react. Everything that you see out here, you want to react. That's the whole thing. And this is why, here's the reason why it's important not to react. You have a poor person and a rich person, right? And you start to say, well, this person has high worth and high value because they have a high net worth. But yet we just spoke about that money has no value in actuality, but it is a symbol of power because of the energy and power people give it. It's just like religion, right? And we already know that there is no Jesus Christ. If you really understand how this shit works, all this shit is based on just the systems that we observe outside of you, which is basically a story about you. The sun, the symbol of power, is you. The moon is you. Okay? All the planets that we can physically observe outside is you. Okay? Now, you have a lot of systems here, as I said, that don't have your best interests. Okay? But if you look at it like this, let's go up into the net worth, and then I'm going to talk about something else. The net worth of a person. You say this person has high value. And a lot of the times, the person of high value, of a high net worth, may be having high value in society because they're offering services to people that are basically valuable because they are making a lot of money from it, right? But then again, look at the churches, look at the medical industry, right? They're making a lot of money. It may seem to be a service to people, but it is really not. It is a service to them. That's why the same way when you look at the nutritional value in the label of a product, right? I ask myself, whose value is it really? Because you could look at those ingredients, right, on the label. Let's say they're not lying, but the moment you cook it, is it the same exact value? Once you denature the protein or change the molecular structure of shit, it's not the same nutritional value that you see on that label. Right? Plus those ingredients that you see in there that are so freaking long that you can't even pronounce. What makes you think your body can even process something that long? If you have a hard time reading it, your body's going to have a hard time processing it just as hard as you can't even read it. All right? And plus when you cook something and put it in a microwave or you further radiating it, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. But there's people who say this is a mental game. None of this matters, right? It doesn't matter, right? But don't forget, you're having an intimate relationship with your food, because this life is all about relationships. It's all about relationships, just so you know. When you eat your food, it's having a relationship in your body. And it could be conducive or it cannot be conducive. Okay? That's what you have to be aware of. And then certain things may arise and you may not know why you feel that way. You may not know why you see things a certain way. Right? But if you're not aware. So let's talk about the net worth part. A person has a high value, right? Now you got this person who's making a lot of money. They may not be living their best life yet because they may be miserable because it may be a business that got passed down from their parents that they don't give a fuck about. So they may be living life now saying, man, I don't give a fuck about this business and whatnot. And they're so unhappy. They're not being fulfilled, right? But then you got the poor person. Oh, that person's got a lot of value. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if I mentioned it that this is a dream like realm, right? You start to ask yourself, well, how many dream within a dream within a dream am I living? Because if I'm in a dream and then I'm in another dream now, right? I'm in a reality where if I'm trying to visualize, I'm visualizing on something that is a carbon copy of what the real actually is. If I'm doing affirmations, I'm doing affirmations on language that is basically a tool, or it could be a weapon that I'm entrapping myself, but, you know, compartmentalizing things and forming my reality because the words that you say give something meaning, right? Because you have to watch what you say to some extent, but it's also behind the intent of everything. Because if you really want to look at it, you can give and redefine the meaning of everything in your life, but that requires a little bit of mental training, okay? Which I'll get into in another video. But, you know, the poor person, why are they so valuable? See, this system is ran on polarities, positive and negative forces. So you may have this poor person trying to make ends meet. They're emitting a vibration of desire, stress, worries, anxiety, fear. You think something is not eating deliciously off of this shit, off of this individual? And plus this individual is being fruitful because they're giving out all these negative emotions. Something's eating off of that deliciously and they're multiplying. So being fruitful and multiply, they're having more children who are going to be experiencing the same things because this person mentality gets passed down to these little children and they grow up being the exact same way. So giving more battery and charge to this individual system of the matrix that's ruled by negative forces, right? And it's about, you see, this is the thing. This not giving a fuck type of thing, because this is why it's important to control your emotions. This not giving a fuck thing is got its pros and cons. It's got its pros in the sense where you can basically not put light on certain things that don't matter, like all the propaganda that they want to fucking show you in the media or in the news. You'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to redirect my energy back to me. Since I hold a 1.3 to a 1 point charge of electricity in my fucking body for each cells, and I'm made of trillions of sentient cells, I hold a big charge. So I'm going to redirect that power back to me. I'm going to charge myself now. I'm going to be in charge of my reality. Because you see, the sun is a giver of life, but the sun is only going to generate the reality that you are perceiving from the inside out. As I said, a person may be coming out, the life looks beautiful to them, and to another person it may be like, my life is so dull and meaningless, but the sun is shining as bright on everybody as it is for the poor person to the person who's not. Okay? But it's all about you. It's all about you as the individual. Where you as the sun, right? You can use this external sun, right? It's free. See, the things that are free, okay, most of the time are not replaceable, right? But the things that you see out here that they put monetary price tags on are replaceable, such as a car, your house, clothes, whatever it may be. You got family, friends, relationships, the sun, nature. These things are irreplaceable and they're free. So use the sun for something very valuable. I'm going to tell you why. If you are the sun, right, and you're a big walking tree, start to prune, right, things in your life where you're going to allow this light to shed light on these areas of your life that are canopied by shit that don't matter. And you know how you're going to know if things in your life matter or not, because the sun is already shining on them. So if you look at certain branches and you say, well, this branch ain't giving me no fucking fruit, I'm going to cut this off. This is old wood from last year and it didn't serve me, right? Then you let light into something that has the potential to grow and be fruitful for you, right? But this is you managing your business. Now you got to have stable, strong roots. You condition your soil so that you don't need to buy external fertilizers or anything outside to nourish you. You see what I'm saying? You're conditioning your soil. You're understanding the chemistry of how things, the mechanics of how these things work outside of you. So now, once you start to do this, why it's important for you to do something that you love is because you become that love frequency. You can become abundant doing something that you absolutely love. Why? Because the project came from you. But the money is the last thing on your mind. You're doing it because you love it to the point where you lose perception of time. So you're doing it, you now become this love frequency, you become the experience, you become these projects, right? And now because you are portraying so much power, this symbol of power that is money can only attract to you. Like attracts like in that way. But the majority of the people are going to chase money. They're working at jobs, settling for peanuts because they think they can't do any better. Because they don't have time to sit down and figure out what their gifts and talents actually are. So they don't have time to start pruning. They don't have time to basically get rid of certain distractions and things in their life due to fear, anxiety, and worries about what may happen if they do. What could happen? You just let it go. You cut it, and now you let room for something else to actually take some nutrients. Get some sunlight in there. Potential for, this is what you controlling chaos is. Chaos, potential energy. You are making order out of that chaos by letting light, which is the sun, light up and nourish certain areas in your life that are canopied by shit that don't matter. So the poor person is very valuable. The rich person is not as valuable in that area if their life is not under control to the sense where they're not doing something they love, but their life may seem to be in order, illusionary, because they don't have any bills. So this is why it's important to understand this. This life is about creating your story. You create your story, because a lot of people are, well, it doesn't matter. Nothing out here matters. Everything's an illusion. Well, I mean, then if this is about creating your story. Look how it works with characters in WWE and movies. It's about the character. You use the vessel to use your character, right, to create a story that you seem to be having value in your life. You think that when you think this was created a road to nowhere? If things are feeding off this individual who's giving out these negative emotions, okay, do you think that after you die, this is where you're basically going to be free? No. Whatever you were doing here in this motherfucker, you're going to experience it probably tenfold now there, because now everything's out in the open. There's no filters. You're butt naked. You have no armor. At least this is armor right here. Technically, this is protecting you. This is like a spacesuit protecting you from shit. So this is why it's important to understand what's happening now from the inside out. Find out what's fulfilling you. Find out what's really empowering you. What's activating your DNA. What's charging these cells of electricity. All right? And where is that charge going? This battery, is it charging an external reality the way that people charge an external system of religion? Right? Know this, it's all coming down to the sun. Look at what the ultimate source of power here is that's lighting up this reality, is the sun. That light up there is you. It's irreplaceable. Once it goes, everything finishes here. Which means that this is how you have to look at yourself. Once you go, nothing else matters. So if you like this video, I'm going to make another video on nihilism and stuff. So we will talk soon. If you like this video, share, like, subscribe, and we'll talk.